선호연한 친구와 성재하는 친구가 오랜만에
Lovely viewers, welcome back to the channel. Today we have one of the most emotional and heart-touching updates that has taken over the internet. If you thought you've seen it all when it comes to celebrity love, heartbreak, and raw confessions, then you're in for a surprise. Because what we're about to share with you is not just a trending topic. It's a moment that has stirred up tears, sparked debates, and left fans absolutely shaken. We're talking about Joong Ki's emotional confession, one that has already broken the internet. The actor, known for his charm, talent, and deeply private life, has finally opened up about something that fans never thought they'd hear him say. "I'll never forget her." And lovely viewers, those 5 words have already ignited a storm of emotions online. Imagine this. The interview started normally, casual, light-hearted, with the usual questions about his career, his projects, and his family life. But then the atmosphere shifted. His voice softened. His eyes glazed over as though he was holding back years of emotions, and he said words that no one expected to hear. For fans who have followed his journey, especially through his marriage and highly publicized divorce from Song Hye-kyo, it felt like a punch straight to the heart. People everywhere are asking, who is her? Did he mean Song Hye-kyo? Did he mean someone else? And why now, after all this time, is he allowing himself to be so vulnerable in front of the entire world? Lovely viewers, let's pause and think about that moment together. Have you ever heard someone speak so simply yet so powerfully that the whole room goes silent? That's exactly what happened. As soon as he said, "I'll never forget her," the audience froze, the host was visibly stunned, and even the production crew whispered behind the scenes. It wasn't just a celebrity giving an answer. It was a man laying bare his soul, with tears forming in his eyes. This wasn't scripted. This wasn't polished PR. This was raw emotion. Now, fans online are dissecting every possible angle of this confession. Some believe without a doubt that Joong Ki was talking about Song Hye-kyo. After all, their relationship wasn't just a love story. It was a global phenomenon. From their breathtaking on-screen chemistry in Descendants of the Sun to their fairy tale wedding that captivated millions, they were once the ultimate dream couple of Korea and beyond. So for him to say he'll never forget her, feels to many like a quiet admission that he still carries her in his heart, even if life has moved on. Others, however, argue differently. Some fans think her could refer to another personal figure in his life, a family member, a close friend, or even his late father's memory. But the way his voice cracked, the way he hesitated before choosing those words, and the fact that he looked away from the camera, it all screamed that this was personal, intimate, and connected to a deep love. And you know what, lovely viewers? The internet is eating it up. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all flooded with clips of him saying that line, all flooded with fans' tears, heartbreak emojis, and endless speculation. But let's make this interactive, my dear viewers. What do you think? When Joong Ki said, "I'll never forget her," who came to your mind instantly? Did you feel it was a direct nod to Song Hye-kyo? Or do you think it was a broader confession about someone else entirely? Share your thoughts in the comments, because this is the type of moment where every fan has their own interpretation, and the discussion itself is just as powerful as the statement. What makes this confession even more powerful is the timing. Joong Ki has been very careful with his public image, especially since his divorce. He's rarely spoken directly about his emotions or the breakup. Many times he's been seen as moving on, starting a new chapter, even welcoming a new family. And yet, these words reveal that no matter how much you move forward in life, some memories are simply impossible to erase. That's what touched people most. It felt universal. Who among us doesn't have someone they'll never forget, no matter how much time passes? Lovely viewers, think about it. Love stories don't just vanish overnight. Whether they end in heartbreak or in happiness, they leave behind imprints that never fully fade. And in that vulnerable moment, Joong Ki reminded us of that truth. He reminded us that behind the glamour, fame, and cameras, he is still human. He still loves, he still hurts, he still remembers. And let me tell you, the reaction from fans has been overwhelming. Some are cheering him on for finally being honest. Others are sending him comforting messages, encouraging him to heal and move forward. Many are even tagging Song Hye-kyo, hoping she'll somehow see the confession and realize how deeply she impacted his life. Can you imagine the pressure, the emotions, and the nostalgia this has stirred up not just for him but for her as well? Now let me ask you, lovely viewers, if you were in Song Hye-kyo's shoes, how would you feel hearing such a confession? Would you see it as a sweet, bittersweet tribute to a love that once was? Or would you feel like it was reopening old wounds? It's a tough question, and that's why this moment has become such a viral sensation. Because it's not just about him, it's about what those words mean to everyone who hears them. So here we are, days later, and the confession is still the #1 topic on entertainment sites, still trending worldwide, and still sparking debates in fan forums. One man's tearful words have reminded millions of people about the weight of unforgettable love. And whether you think it was meant for Song Hye-kyo or someone else, one thing is certain. Song Joong-ki has given us a moment we won't forget either. Lovely viewers, let's keep this conversation alive. Do you believe his confession was about his ex-wife? Or do you think it was about someone else close to his heart? And most importantly, do you think he'll ever fully reveal the truth behind those words? Or will this remain one of those mysterious confessions that fans will debate forever? Let's talk about it together in the comments, because this is not just celebrity news. It's a story about love, memory, and the kind of emotions that connect us all. If you felt touched by this confession, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can join us for more heartfelt updates like this. So, lovely viewers, I'll end this by echoing his words. Sometimes we all have someone we'll never forget. And now, thanks to Song Joong-ki's tearful confession, the whole world knows who he'll never forget too. If anything, the story has only grown deeper, more layered, and even more emotional as fans, media outlets, and close industry insiders continue to unpack every detail of that powerful moment. When he uttered those unforgettable words, "I'll never forget her," he wasn't just speaking for himself. He gave voice to something universal, something that resonated across cultures, languages, and generations. And that, lovely viewers, is why this confession has refused to fade from the spotlight. In the hours and days after the clip spread online, fans from all corners of the globe began sharing their own stories of unforgettable love. On Twitter, hashtags like #NeverForgetHer and #SongJoongKiConfession began trending, with people posting about the people in their own lives that they could never truly let go of. Some fans spoke about first loves, others about childhood friendships, and many about loved ones they had lost. In a way, his emotional vulnerability created a ripple effect, opening the door for thousands of others to speak their truth as well. Isn't it incredible, lovely viewers, how a single sentence can spark a global wave of empathy? But at the center of it all, the biggest question remains. Was he talking about Song Hye-kyo? That single mystery has created an avalanche of speculation. Entertainment reporters are rushing to connect the dots. Some pointed out that he's been unusually nostalgic in recent interviews, often reflecting on the past in ways he didn't before. Others noticed the timing, how this confession comes after a period of silence regarding his previous marriage. Could it be that, after years of carefully avoiding the subject, he finally allowed himself to speak freely, even if it was just for a moment? Lovely viewers, this is where the story gets even more intriguing. A source close to the actor allegedly told a media outlet that Joong-ki has been carrying unspoken emotions for years, and that the confession was the first time he allowed those feelings to slip through in public. Whether or not this insider is to be believed, it adds fuel to the fire, doesn't it? Because fans now wonder if this was truly accidental, or if it was his way of quietly reaching out to someone he once loved. And let's not forget the reaction from Song Hye-kyo's fanbase. Many of them are convinced that the confession was undeniably about her. They argue that Joong-ki's tone, his hesitation, and the tears in his eyes spoke volumes. They say that only a deep, profound love like the one he had with Hye-kyo could leave behind such an indelible mark on his heart. Some fans even commented things like, "Once you've loved Song Hye-kyo, you'll never forget her. And this is the closure we've been waiting for." But what about Hye-kyo herself? Lovely viewers, this is the part that has everyone on edge. So far, she hasn't made any public statement about the confession. She hasn't responded in interviews, she hasn't made a social media post, and she hasn't given any signal of acknowledgement. And yet, fans are keeping a close eye on her every move. Her Instagram updates, her interviews, even her choice of outfits, looking for subtle clues that might suggest how she feels about this. Can you imagine the pressure she must be under, knowing the whole world is waiting for her reaction? Here's a thought, lovely viewers. What if her silence is her answer? Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. Could it be that she doesn't want to reopen old wounds? Or could it be that she is quietly moved but chooses not to make it public? That ambiguity keeps the mystery alive, and it's part of why this story has captured so much attention. Now let's look at this from another perspective. Many fans believe that Joong Ki's confession wasn't just about a person, but about a moment in time, a chapter in his life that shaped him profoundly. Love, especially when it's shared under the bright lights of fame, doesn't just disappear when the relationship ends. Perhaps I'll Never Forget Her wasn't only about Haekyo as a person, but about what she represented in his life. Passion, youth, dreams, and a time when the world saw them as a couple destined for eternity. Lovely viewers, doesn't that strike a chord with you? Haven't we all looked back at moments in our lives that were so beautiful, so transformative, that we knew we'd never forget them, even if they didn't last forever? That's why so many fans are crying watching this clip. Because it's not just Joong Ki's story, it's a mirror reflecting all of ours. And this brings us to another layer. Forgiveness. Some fans speculate that this confession might be his way of seeking silent forgiveness for the pain, the heartbreak, and the ending that came far too soon. What if, deep down, he wishes things had turned out differently? What if, after all these years, he still feels a mixture of gratitude and regret? I'll never forget her could very well be his way of saying, I still care. I always will. Lovely viewers, imagine if you were in his place. Would you have the courage to admit that publicly? Would you dare to let the world know that someone from your past still lives in your heart? That's what makes this moment so special. It wasn't polished. It wasn't planned. It was a man showing his scars to the world. And in doing so, he made millions of people cry with him. But this story isn't just about sadness. It's also about healing. Because sometimes, acknowledging unforgettable love is part of moving forward. The fact that he could say those words out loud shows growth, shows acceptance. It shows that he's not running away from his past anymore. And that, lovely viewers, is a lesson for all of us. You don't have to erase love in order to move on. You can carry it with you as a cherished memory, while still building a new future. Now here's something that fans are already dreaming about. What if this confession leads to a reunion of some kind? Maybe not romantic, but perhaps a moment of reconciliation, where Joong Ki and Haekyo can meet again, not as lovers, but as two people who once shared something beautiful. Wouldn't that be a sight to see? The internet would absolutely explode if they were ever spotted together again, even as friends. Lovely viewers, let's open the floor to you once more. Do you think this confession could be the first step toward some form of reconciliation? Or do you believe it's simply Joong Ki's way of closing the chapter in his own heart, without expecting anything in return? Your opinions matter, because every interpretation adds a new layer to this ongoing story. This is not just gossip anymore, it's something that touches the human soul. After the confession made headlines, major media outlets scrambled to frame the story in their own ways. Some called it a tearful declaration of eternal love, while others branded it as a haunting admission from a man still holding on to his past. But what truly captured people's attention wasn't the media spin. It was the rawness of those 5 words. I'll never forget her. Words so short, yet so heavy that even silence afterward felt like it was echoing with meaning. Lovely viewers, what's interesting here is how this confession has shifted public perception of Song Joong Ki. For years, he has been admired for his professionalism, his roles, his ability to transform into characters we fall in love with on screen. But now, people are seeing him differently. Not just as an actor, but as a man who bleeds, who breaks, who remembers. And that vulnerability has made him even more loved. Fans are flooding comment sections with messages like, "This makes me respect him more," or "He's showing us that being human is okay." In a world where celebrities are often forced to put on masks, Joong's unmasking has become a revelation. Meanwhile, in fan communities, the theories are only getting wilder and more detailed. Some are convinced that this confession was not accidental at all, but intentional, perhaps even a coded message directed straight at Song Hye-kyo. Think about it, lovely viewers. If he truly wanted to keep it private, he could have stayed quiet like he has all these years. But instead, in front of cameras, in front of fans, he let it slip. Was that really a slip? Or was it carefully chosen words disguised as vulnerability? Could it be his way of saying, "No matter how far apart we are, I still honor what we had"? And let's not forget the timing. Lovely viewers, timing is everything in stories like this. Why now? Why at this exact point in his career and life? Some insiders whisper that the confession may have been triggered by recent personal events, moments that made him reflect on the love he lost. Others suggest it could be tied to Song Hye-kyo's own rising presence in the media again, with her ongoing projects and continued adoration from fans. Almost as if her light reminded him of a past he can't erase. Doesn't that make you wonder if their stories are still secretly intertwined, even after years apart? Song Hye-kyo's silence, too, is deafening. Lovely viewers, have you noticed how her lack of response is driving the internet crazy? Some argue that her silence is dignified, that she has chosen not to feed into the frenzy. Others think her silence itself is a silent acknowledgement, a quiet nod that says, "I heard you, I know." And then there are the dreamers, the hopeless romantics among us, who believe that maybe, just maybe, behind the scenes she did reach out to him privately. Because sometimes the most powerful conversations happen away from the cameras. Now let's shift focus for a moment. This confession isn't just about Joong and Hye-kyo. It's also about the fans, the people who loved them together, who still carry the scars of their breakup as though it were their own heartbreak. Lovely viewers, I know many of you watching still remember the wedding, the photos, the smiles, the promises. You remember how perfect they looked together, how it felt like a fairy tale written in real life. And when that fairy tale ended, it wasn't just their pain, it was yours too. So now, hearing him say he'll never forget her, it feels like he's speaking on your behalf as well. And isn't that the beauty of storytelling, of love stories? Even when they don't end happily ever after, they remind us of our own stories. They remind us that love, no matter how fleeting, leaves marks that time cannot erase. Lovely viewers, let me ask you this. Do you believe unforgettable love is a blessing, or is it a burden? When Joong says he'll never forget her, is he celebrating that love, or is he mourning it? Or is it both, woven together in the bittersweet reality of human emotions? What fascinates me most is how one confession can bring back years of memories. Suddenly, fans are revisiting old interviews, rewatching Descendants of the Sun, analyzing past quotes from both Joong and Hye-kyo, trying to piece together a bigger picture. Some are convinced that this is proof their story isn't over, that destiny has a way of circling people back into each other's lives. Others argue that this is simply nostalgia speaking, a natural reflection when one looks back at a love that shaped them. Which side are you on, lovely viewers? But let's not overlook the deeper, almost poetic message behind this. Love doesn't vanish just because relationships end. It lingers, it shapes, it teaches. By confessing he'll never forget her, Joong might also be telling us something profound, that to love and to remember is better than to erase and pretend it never happened. That even if you move on, you can carry the beauty of what once was. Lovely viewers, picture this, years from now, when fans look back at Song Joong-ki's career, they'll remember not just his dramas, not just his movies, but this moment. A tearful confession that became bigger than entertainment. It became human history, because all of us, in some way, know what it means to never forget someone. And so, as we continue reflecting on this powerful confession, I'll ask you once again, who is the her in your life that you'll never forget? Share your stories in the comments, because this community isn't just about celebrities. It's about all of us, our emotions, and our connections. Joong-ki's words may have broken the internet, But they've also created a safe space for people to remember, to honor, and to feel. Lovely viewers, this story isn't over yet. Because as long as his words continue to echo, as long as her silence continues to intrigue, and as long as fans continue to hope, this confession will live on. And just like him, we too will never forget her.